Okay, if everybody would like to join us today, we have Pastor Elliott from Enon Baptist Church who's going to give us our invocation.
Our God and eternal Heavenly Father, as we call upon the name once again today, we thank Thee, God, for this beautiful day You've given us on this side of eternity. But we come this morning to be in the Nicholas County Commission. God, we ask You for wisdom, for knowledge, for understanding, dear God, as these men lead the county, dear God, in the things that need to be done. But we ask You, God, just to guide them in a way that would be pleasing to You. But we ask You that You just help them, and God, help them make the decisions that would better benefit the people of this county, dear God. God, we have learned to love Nicholas County and the people here. And God, we want to see it grow and prosper as You would see fit. I ask You, God, that You just watch over each one of us as we travel back to our homes after a while. Lead us, guide us, and direct us. In Jesus' name we pray. And amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pastor Elliott, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Recording in progress.
Okay, I would like to call this meeting to order. This is Wednesday, April 16, 2025. Would you guys like to begin?
Do you have anyone for public comment? No. Make a motion to review and waive the reading of the April 2nd, 2025 minutes as presented.
There's a motion on the floor. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried.
Upon review of the exonerations as presented by the Nicholas County Assessor, move to approve accordingly.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion has carried.
Upon review of the state and fiduciary matters as presented by the Nicholas County Clerk, move to approve accordingly unless otherwise noted.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried.
Upon submission of budget revisions received from elected officials and department heads, the Commission will take appropriate action as deemed necessary.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion has carried.
Upon review of invoices as submitted by various departmental offices, the Commission will take the appropriate action as deemed necessary.
There's a motion on the floor. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion has carried. Okay, we have Nicholas County Parks and Recreation Commission. We need to fill the unexpired term of Jessica Taylor with expiring October 15, 2026. And also fill an unexpired term of Brandon Vance, which also expires October 15, 2025.
Yep. I don't have anybody for the table working on.
Tabled.
Yep.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor to table those.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Okay, our first appointment is at 9:10, so we'll take about a 5-minute break. Okay, we're back for our 9:10 appointment, and this is the estate of Clark Harrison, file number 10357, regarding acceptance of release. We have Miss Underwood from our county clerk's office who'd like to update us on this.
Okay, so on March the 26th, Annabelle Ramsey, the executor of the Clark Harrison estate, appeared and brought this letter from Memorial Gardens. And in 2022, it was May the 12th of 2022, Janice Messenger had brought this claim in.
I hate to interrupt, I cannot hear anything.
Okay. We're gonna try this. We're a little bit antiquated phone system here. Go here, step.
Yeah. All right, so on May the 12th of 2022, Janice Messenger had put a claim on the estate for $180.23 for a headstone, and we had never gotten any release for that from her. And so Annabelle brought in this letter from Memorial Gardens stating that Janice had been refunded, and this letter shows the refund that they had sent directly to Janice. But we just haven't received a release from her. So this is just hopefully gonna serve as a release for us.
I lost you again. The last I heard was that you still need a release.
Yeah, so we got this letter from Memorial Gardens, which is hoping to state as a release because she has refunded her money.
Oh, I can't hear anything. I'm so sorry, y'all. Would it work better if you called me on my cell phone? Maybe we'd have a better connection.
I'll just paraphrase what she just said.
The connection's fine on this end. Do you have another number you'd like us to call you on?
Yes, sir, if you don't mind, it's 304-640-6411.
Okay, just
Fire
one
it
moment. Intermission. Oh, thunder.
Our new system should fix this one.
Yeah, we need to get on that and get a conference phone that has microphones. I can use one. Ms. Campbell? Okay, let's try this. Okay.
Sure, very good.
Okay, how about, can you hear me speaking now?
I can hear you now.
And if you'll do a test too, please.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, it's breaking up a little bit, so I'm hearing every other word.
Okay, can you hear me good now?
I can, yes ma'am.
Okay, so I just
See.
stated that on the 26th, Annabelle Ramsey, the executor of the Clark Harrison estate, had brought in this letter from Memorial Gardens stating that Janice had been refunded for a claim that was put on the estate, and we have not received a release from Janice Messenger.
And did I hear you right that it was $108?
It was $180 and
23 cents.
23 cents, yes.
Are you still there?
Yeah,
Okay. Okay, and so that, is that what the estate is needing to go forward?
yes.
Okay.
And let me interrupt here for a second. This is Commissioner Cole again. We need to put everything on the record here that this is Elizabeth Campbell, a law partner of Larry Hara here on the phone, and we also need to recognize everyone here in the room before we proceed. Hand me that list, please. Annabelle Ramsey, Tim Gross, Charlene Connell, I'm sorry, I can't. Carlene, I'm sorry. I have an Aunt Charlene. And, I'm sorry, I can't read this one.
Philip Harrison.
Philip Harrison, Karen Harrison, and your name?
Tara.
Harrison.
Tara
Harrison,
Harrison.
yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So, anything else from your office? Okay.
So
I
you're
snuck in late.
Yes, your name please for the record?
Janice Messenger.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay, so what is your recommendation?
I don't have any recommendation other than we haven't gotten a release, so if it's shown that it's been refunded, then I would just say that that should be our release since it has been satisfied.
Okay. Ms. Campbell, would you like to give a response, please?
Sir, I only heard the first bit, but I am assuming that what was talked about was a release from a certain memorial center for $180 and some change, and I'm sure there's note of that in the file. If that is something that needs to be released, certainly as the executor of the estate, Ms. Ramsey would be responsible for making that release come to fruition before the estate was closed.
Okay. And can I call Ms. Ramsey?
Yeah.
Okay. Ms. Ramsey, do you have any issue with preparing and submitting that release for that charge?
Yeah.
You'll do it?
Yeah, but she's already.
We will
received it, so-
effectuate that, sir, yes.
Yes.
Okay. Legal counsel?
You have the claimant here in the room, and so we need to ask her if she's been paid. If she has, she will cross the hall, and
She needs to.
Elizabeth will do a release.
I
Okay.
have no issue doing that.
Okay.
Fixes that. Is there anything else anybody wants to bring before this court? this
No,
estate?
Just need to know what else we have to do to settle the estate.
Okay. They will help you with that, and everything. So you'll go across the street and sign the
Yes.
release. So with, do I hear a motion that, with her walking across the hall and signing the release, that we can accept the final settlement of this estate? Is
Yes, with
correct?
that motion is made, with the expectation of the release by close of business today at 4:30.
They haven't done a final
Oh, they haven't done, so the only thing we're doing here is the acceptance of this one thing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so we got that fixed.
So I'm in my motion to,
Accept.
this
the-
commission accept and demands this release to be submitted to the county clerk's office by close of business 4:30 today.
Okay, motion on the floor, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay,
Will this be an action to close the estate? I mean, we would like to get it finalized today and be done with this.
and you won't get it today, because you guys haven't even done the final settlement.
Yeah, she's still got a little bit of stuff to do.
Yeah, so,
If
But
she
they
can,
can
if she
advise
can
you
get
of the
that
steps.
paperwork and bring it back to you, can we wrap this up today
Yeah, you can fill out the settlement today.
and finish up this estate?
Well, and the final settlement's not on our agenda, and so we would have to wait until the next meeting to accept it, correct?
and is
Okay,
there
so you
a
can't-
Um,
publication period?
It's 10 days for the heirs and beneficiaries to inject.
Right, okay.
Okay.
So get this release done today, she'll work with you and get you moving on the rest of it.
Very good.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you all. Okay, we are back, and we are with Cassandra Lawson, Senior Project Specialist with Region 4 Planning and Development Council. And she's gonna talk to us today about the Birch River PSD Mill Creek Waterline Extension Project, Resolution number 10. And she will also be talking about the Hinkle Mountain Broadband Expansion Contractor Debarment Certification.
Yep.
So, and she'll explain what that big word is.
Yes.
Yep.
All right.
All right. So we'll start with Birch River PSD first. As reference, we have resolution number 10 for you. This includes pay estimate number 8 for Pro Contracting, which was the construction contractor for the project. This will be their final pay estimate. They actually came in a little under than what they anticipated. Their final payment is $100,231.33. There was a tank that was like a bladder, a holding tank for one of the booster stations on the project. It had a long lead time, and then when the part came in, it was the wrong part, so they had to reorder it, and it was a long lead time again. So it's been just kind of asleep for a little while, but that's all been accomplished. But leading up to that, we have not processed any invoices. We've just held invoicing until we had something else to present. So we have Region 4's invoicing from April of 2024 to January of 2025. Region 4's fees total $14,971.70. The DOH bond for the project requires renewal each year. That's $1,000, $1,100. The PSD went ahead and paid that, so they are also requesting reimbursement for that from the project. And then we had an old reimbursement invoice that we had just kind of missed in processing. It was when the environmental advertisement was published for the project. So Region 4 is also requesting $156.96 in reimbursement. All told, the invoices total $116,459.99. And I'm so sorry, I brought you copies so you can actually follow along with all of my commentary. Well, I'm short a copy or two. I thought I had printed a few more, but, okay. The commission's portion will be the CDBG funding in the amount of $60,429.42. The remainder will go directly to the PSD, that's the IJDC portion, the amount of $56,030.57, totaling $116,459.99.
And the funds are there.
Yes, yep.
Is the water running?
Yep, all of the customers now have access to the water. There will be some remaining funds. We don't anticipate the PSD will be able to utilize any of the community development block grant funds, but they may have the opportunity to use some of the IGDC funds. They're hoping maybe to have the opportunity to purchase a truck. The truck that they have is really old. They've added a lot of customers, which, you know, equates to additional meter reading and all of that stuff. But all in all, we'll start to work to close the project out.
Okay, for this, grant funding for Park River Mill Creek project in the amount of $116,459.99. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve.
There's
As
a mo-
presented.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Motion has carried.
I have a copy. And then for the Hinkle Mountain Broadband Expansion Project, there was only one bidder, Quanta Telecommunications. They have been provided a notice of award. They are currently, the attorneys are going back and forth on the contract, so they haven't been issued a notice to proceed. That won't happen until the contract is actually executed. But all in all, what I'm getting at is the funding agency requires us to confirm that they are not debarred from doing business with the state or federal government. So we have reviewed both the federal and state debarment lists and can confirm that they are not debarred from doing business with either. And that's all this is.
Yes.
Okay, is there a motion to accept this, block grant guaranteed department review certification that was done by you guys, by Region 4?
Motion to approve.
There's a motion on the floor, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anything else?
Senator Capito has announced that she is now accepting congressionally directed spending requests, and I have some updates for that. It's not on the agenda, so I can discuss that now, or we can follow up later.
We're good, keep going.
Okay. We have two letters of support. One is for the Craigksville Public Service District for a essentially a sewer line replacement project to help address their inflow and infiltration into their wastewater treatment plant. The other is for the Birch River Public Service District's Mill Creek water line extension. These applications are due Tuesday. Altogether, there was less than a 2-week turnaround, so we may have additional projects come forth between now and Tuesday. If we could ask for letters of support, and also if we, maybe try to even get with you as late as Monday or Tuesday with those additional letters. Also, talked to New River Engineering, and they are working to resubmit the request for the Veterans Memorial Campground project as well. And so these, I don't know that these actually require any formal action. We had, many of these letters approved last year as well. And because the turnaround is so tight, we are literally accepting new projects up until the day of the deadline.
Are there any fiscal notes to the commission itself, or strictly requesting federal funding?
Some of these projects do require a match, but it will not be requested of the commission. It will be requested of other agencies. And in these letters, it just simply recognizes your support. There's no mention of financial commitment or anything like that. Very high level letters of support.
With that, I had no problem, do you see a problem? So, yeah, as we need to, by Tuesday, I'll have a problem if you want to.
Yep, if you'll just prepare for us and we'll take it.
We have 2 so far.
And that's the one for First River here is, again, the Mill Creek Waterline Extension.
Phase 2. So
Phase two, okay.
the project we just discussed, this is the second phase of extension to that.
You good?
I'm good with that.
And just kind of a note on these. So because Congress passed a continuing resolution instead of like a new budget this year, none of the earmarks that were recommended last year are going to receive funding because a full new budget has to be approved to make that happen. So we've talked to Congresswoman Miller's office, and what they are going to do is just recommend the same projects that they recommended last year because they didn't get funded. We don't know that Capito and Justice will do the same thing, but they may. And I believe maybe we were under the impression that the park was recommended last year, so hopefully it will be recommended again this year. Just some insight on that situation.
Thank you.
And that's all we've got, unless you have any questions for us just about projects in the county.
When do you foresee the Hinkle Mountain project beginning and the landfill time?
The bid hold is for only 90 days, so we really have to get that contract signed and a notice to proceed issued within 90 days. So within a 90-day time period, we do expect it to actually technically be under construction. And I think the construction period is 60 days to substantial completion and 90 days to actual final payment. The majority of the fiber is being hung on existing poles. Only a very small section is being buried within the Mon Forest. So it really shouldn't take them that long to knock it out. Should be a quick turnaround.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yep.
And we need to work with, once it's completed, we work with CityNet.
Mhm.
Will be the carrier.
Yes, so you have a really strong operation and maintenance plan with them wherein they pretty much manage the system for you.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.
We are back, and we are waiting for our 9:30 appointment that hasn't shown up yet. So we're going to actually move our 9:40.
Could I actually, I'm sorry, request an executive session concerning the 9:30 appointment?
Okay. We will go into executive session for a few minutes. Is there a motion on the floor?
Make a motion to enter executive session pursuant to West Virginia Code 6-9A-4. Do my request that legal counsel, Court Painter, and Ms. Lawson stay in the room.
Okay. Is any discussion on that?
It is 9:43 a.m.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Okay, we are back at 10:55. Do I have a motion to come out of executive session?
I'll make that motion, and for the record, no decisions were made during that time.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion has carried. Now we would like to talk about the decision for the legal counsel for the Nicholas County Reconnect Broadband Project. We publicized for bids to handle the loan and the bonding issues and things like that, of which we had 2 different companies, Spillman, Thomas, and Battle, as well as Stepford and Johnson. So is there any discussion or any motion? Is there a motion on the floor?
So, we had legal counsel review these proposals. It was my understanding, and I'll confirm with legal counsel, that they are similar in nature and similar in capability, and there was just a price difference. What I would ask the commission to consider would be the proposal of Steptoe and Johnson PLLC of Charleston, West Virginia. And that is with the lead counsel being John C. Stump and his assistant counsel Todd N. Swanson. They have done multiple projects for us before and have a very good reputation in the state, and we have a lot more familiarity with Steptoe and Johnson with these projects.
Is that a motion?
Yes, sir, I'll make that motion.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion has carried. We will engage with Steptoe and Johnson for this project, and we will be contacted.
What's the cost?
25 an hour.
$395 an hour when a partner is involved, $250 an hour when an associate is involved.
And that will come from the funds,
Of the
that,
project.
of the reconnect grant.
$24 million. Cover the cost.
And get legal counsel's opinion here, but I mean, for a Charleston lawyer, that's pretty standard. Just not Somersville lawyers, let's not do that, but anyways. And then also, we need to discuss the pole attachment agreements and stuff like that on this project. And right of ways.
While we're in the legal, we might as well talk about it.
Yes, so we, from all the information Region 4 and Amanda Smart have sent to us, we have never put out to bid the pole attachments, easements, so on and so forth. And so we would probably need to go through the same procedure to bid that out and notify all relevant parties in the area to hopefully bid.
All right, there's a motion on the floor to advertise and seek legal counsel to represent the commission in this project. Is there any discussion?
And that being on the pole attachments and related right-of-way matters. Yes, I'll make that motion.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion has carried. And we will take a break.
Can I request we go back to the New River Engineering Reconnect?
Yes.
Okay. Following our executive from earlier, we had began this project without a co-awardee, which is a USDA plan that they have, and request that they have asked us to consider. So the Nicholas County Commission and CityNet, who the commission has previously already approved to be the internet service provider, be awarded this grant together. The commission still has final say, so on and so forth, but they are an active partner in the grant process as well as the the providing of internet service once it is active. We have originally engaged New River Engineering locally of Charleston to work on this project. However, with the co-awardee status that we now have, the USDA still has to approve, but should they approve on this project, CityNet will have to do the engineering at cost with no, and I don't want to say this in a bad way, with no markup or no additional fees other than true cost that they have to verify to the USDA. And once the USDA approves this transition, should we approve it to CityNet, this will allow us to proceed with the project, and this is what USDA is waiting on. So far, for the funding application phase, it's our understanding from Region 4 that there was budgeted $25,000. New River Engineers, Inc. of Charleston, West Virginia did come in at $30,000 for their work performed so far to get us to this point. Before the next step will be the preliminary design phase. And so it would be my request that we consider the payment of $30,000 to New River Engineering and request the approval of the USDA to transition our engineering service to CityNet due to the co-awardee status as well as the at-cost requirement that they would have to follow. Saying all that, I make that motion.
Hope somebody wrote it down.
And that is pending the USDA approval of the amount of $30,000 USDA approval. Once that funding would be allocated to be paid to New River Engineering, as well as the USDA approval of CityNet becoming the engineering responsible party for this project.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Is there any discussion?
Just one thing I'd like to add is that, you know, one of the reasons why that I think this is the best situation is that CityNet would be designing the network that they actually own and would maintain and provide our service on. So it only makes sense for the owner of the network to design their own network. They know what their capabilities are. They know what their future plans are and things like that. So it just makes best sense. And I think the fact that the USDA has recommended that we transfer over to them at cost is going to definitely cut our costs down and overall the loan that we're actually going to have to secure for this.
And at a point of clarification in making this motion, this is not any kind of
it's not based on performance.
yes, thank you. This is not based on performance or anything of the like, but just a good faith effort to the USDA, who's our funding agency on this, of trying to cut costs where we can to make sure this project goes forward, first off. And second off, hopefully comes in under budget. And like Commissioner Robert said, the ISP will be providing their own engineering. And once it goes active, they're responsible for upkeeping it, so they'll know what they have.
I think it'll help speed the effort up as well.
Okay. Anything else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion has carried. Okay, we're back for our 11 o'clock meeting for today, and we're going to discuss the status updates on the cabling and the telecommunications systems that are replacing our current systems in our properties. Who do we want to begin?
I guess we can just get a status on where we sit with cabling and everything in-house, equipment and all that.
We are installed, tested, fiber backbone is in, racks, everything is up. Obviously, we're not connected to anything because we don't have any equipment in any of the racks, but everything's there for the new switches and such that are coming in. They're there and ready to be connected. All the cabling is done. We kind of slipped my mind on the
Extension building?
no,
Animal shelter?
the animal shelter.
Gotcha.
And actually the guys are there today.
Okay.
Doing it, which I think it was going to be a little while before they were going to be able to get fiber over there anyway, because they had to get the permits to cross the 4-lane and all that. But they'll be done with it today.
Okay. So as far as you guys, what's going to be your next step? Like, what do we still need to complete before?
What I think the best way to do this is going to be to bring in our new circuits. The way, in my wishful head, the way I would like to see it play out is let's bring in our new circuits, get them up and running. We want our old circuits up and running still. Let's put our new switches and stuff in. And
Hey, John.
Yeah.
I completely lost your whole audio for about 2 minutes.
Okay, well,
Might want to just start making.
Pass her around.
Yeah. Great. And do a phased approach, so you'll have both sides live and just start migrating stuff over.
yes.
Okay.
That will be the ideal way to do it, because if we try to fill out this, if we just try to send them a form saying we need to VLAN this, we need to forward this port, we need to do this, we're going to overlook something. And even if we do it slowly, there's always a chance you're going to overlook something, but at least we can have them both running. And making sure that once we do this and tie it in, that this port's not getting blocked where, you know, it's going through over here, but it may be getting blocked here. So there's more testing we can do to make sure that we're making the right path and the right communications between the state's office and federal, or, you know, whoever that it ties back to.
And as far as the cutover, how long do you think from your side that would take? Are we looking at hours, days, weeks?
Well, if we pre-prep everything and the circuit's up and running, I can't imagine taking more than a day to swap data cables over, would it?
Yeah, I would think we can come in and kind of get everybody we can do it all in a day. Cause we can come in, we can go ahead and start putting the patch cables out and getting ready for, everybody to move this one and plug this one in.
Unplug, plug.
Yeah. There are a couple spots, like for instance, downstairs in the boiler room, where we got that one switch up on stuff like that we may run into, and I don't know how many areas have that kind of I think that's the only spot that I've seen that's gonna be a little more confusing. We'll have to be real careful with that to make sure that we get, the right cables in the right spot when we move that whole switch. And that's one, I don't know if that's a state, I'm assuming that may be a state switch. So I don't know if we need to call and get I've never done like physically moving their equipment. I know they're pretty protective.
Right.
So I don't know if that's something that we need to call and get their permission before we do anything.
Make sure they have somebody online for support.
Yes.
Your stuff.
The Supreme Court stuff.
Yeah, like the Supreme Court stuff.
You shouldn't have to touch any of it. They just redid all for it.
So that switch in the downstairs may not have anything to do with Supreme Court or state.
The one that's on the same rack as the camera?
No, the one that's,
Up
the
on the
one that's
wall,
sitting
right?
on no,
With
it's
the
actually
sensors.
sitting on the pipes downstairs.
It's like a rack about yay big, right? So it's up in the.
No, it's literally
Just
sitting
one
on
switch?
boiler
Oh.
pipes
Gotcha.
in the downstairs basement. Or if you walk down the steps over here, walk down and look up.
I'll call TJ and see if he knows.
When I worked with McDowell County on theirs, when they did their upgrade, they did not retrieve their old equipment. There was
Probably just-
dead equipment on the wall.
Cause they put
So,
a new rack
it's entirely
in
possible.
the old sheriff's office, and then there's a new rack up in Judge Tucker's office.
So that may just be hanging around up there.
It might be.
Could just
I know they still came through the basement
sucking
to get it,
electricity.
but I don't know where they went. But
Taking up space.
That's easy, I call TJ.
Okay.
They got
So I-
another rack over there on top of the jail too. They were doing splicing on there last week, somebody chained over right here.
That's where the new circuits come in.
Yeah.
We have a patch panel over that way we were coming from.
And then, I don't think they have anything in the rack at the jail, do they?
Not that I'm aware of.
Cause I think theirs goes straight over from Judge Tucker's office now. I think it goes straight over across the street to the magistrate's office.
I think the one above the jail is just our stuff,
I believe so.
or county.
Yep.
And we would probably request a Saturday cutover, that way we'd give us some time troubleshooting.
Yes.
And folks come out on Monday morning, we've got.
It'd be better for everybody.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
You
Versus a
let
maintenance
me
window.
know what, like, Saturday in mind.
Mhm.
I mean, not a whole lot of days in advance, but a few days in advance.
Okay.
I'll work with the VP of NOC operations and see if we can't have
Okay.
somebody waiting on, you know what I mean?
Awesome.
Set up waiting on you.
Okay.
Swap them for like a Thursday to a Saturday and
That
let
would
them work with you guys on Saturday.
Yeah, we definitely want to pull somebody down, like if we do a maintenance window on a, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night, we're
Exactly.
rolling into a day hot, potential issues. And then, there was, so that's where you guys stand, and then on your side, what are you looking at as far as your build out?
Well, what I'm very happy about is everything they said.
Right, I see it on,
I
so,
couldn't agree
yeah.
more with the way our thought process is typically 2 freestanding networks. Start doing cutovers. If you think you can pull it off in a day, God bless you, but if you can't, you know what I mean? Like, it's definitely not gonna hurt anything for, building across the street or the animal shelter to be on an additional day or, anything like that.
Right.
So, once that's done, you don't shut the old Frontier stuff down because it's still attached to a lot of the phone numbers. Once the network and everything, and they're confident in everything, then we'll submit for the port. We'll get the ports going, then they'll do the phone cutover in another day.
Right.
And then unfortunately, that is gonna have to be a weekday, because they don't, the porting offices, they don't port on Saturdays. It's not our fault, it's FCC, God love them.
Now, will they be able to batch that? They'll batch that in, and they'll kick it, and they'll go across? How's that work?
There's usually, if everything goes real smooth, it's about an 8-minute outage.
So you're saying LMP, when you say port, you mean LMP, the line number portability? Or the
Yes.
port that number, okay.
Exactly, yes.
Yep.
And the outage is usually roughly 8 minutes, you know.
We normally, they'll give us some test numbers.
Yes.
So like we can test everything we know, everything's working inbound, outbound, the way it should.
Okay.
And then it's just a matter of them waiting for that.
That's a big question for you guys. Would you want a handful?
The line drop.
Because since you're running everything out of this building, would you want a handful to be able to practice pushing
What I
into the
would
building?
do is whatever the DID range they're gonna give us.
Yeah.
So if we're buying 50, if we're buying a block of 50.
You're going to have 118 total.
Just go ahead and give me
Seat some in there?
at least 20.
Oh, good.
You know what I mean? If they're not, are they all gonna be existing numbers that we're porting over?
Well,
No.
see, we avoid that because then you get some old straggler stuff. Well, that's what Patty
So I
was
guess what
handing
I'm
out
getting at
earlier
is
was the ones we want to port.
If we get 40 new DIDs or 100 new DIDs.
Use them as
whatever,
practice and
yeah,
keep them
use
as
them as practice and keep them. That way we can
Absolutely
start-
perfect.
We can start pointing them to the people we want to
Yep.
have
Okay.
and all that.
So those, they provide a bank of, and you decide where those go?
Correct.
Okay. yep,
Yeah, we
okay.
give them to
So you
them
can
and
test
they-
and then swing it to the live number?
They convert DIDs to extensions and push them to phones
Gotcha. Gotcha.
across the network.
And we've had the phone system before the end of the year last year, so it's in my office programmed. We've got the phones, I mean, we're ready.
Right.
Just as soon as we have the
Well,
facilities there.
I told him that it would probably be best for us to go ahead and put the phone system in, work
Oh,
over
yeah.
the circuits,
Absolutely.
let them start using the phones before we even done the network, so.
Yep, absolutely.
Become familiar with
I
it.
do have a couple of simple questions, because I've been on the road for 5 days, so I don't know what all has happened. Saul had reached out a couple of times about doing a technical questionnaire about the PRI, about, and also getting you guys scheduled for portal training for the Cisco Meraki portal.
Okay.
And it's a virtual training, it's like an hour, you know, it's nothing major. But it's gonna make it real easy later if you're trying to say you do have to integrate something for them, you just have to open up a port wide open for them. You know, I know you guys don't use Cisco Meraki all that often, so this is a little bit more of a customer, layman friendly portal.
Okay.
So, and he said he hadn't been able to schedule that with you guys yet, probably because you were elbow deep in the building.
Well, and
So,
we're also,
not ready
it's
yet.
also been a little confusion on who's doing what, so I think
Fair
that's
enough, yeah,
been
fair enough. No.
some of it there, you know what I mean?
Absolutely, fair enough.
But we have a network engineer that he'll be our person
Yeah,
to log in and do whatever needs to be done.
because it can be logged in from the building and it can be logged in from your office. It
Yeah,
does.
so I'll have him go ahead, and then the PRI question, if there's a PRI question there, it'll need to come to me.
That's what I
And
assumed
then
as
the-
such.
Then the other will go to Brinks.
Assumptions are dangerous, but I was getting that
Yeah.
feeling.
So from a lay perspective, I mean, the way I would understand it is anything that comes up to a DMARC, you guys are gonna troubleshoot up to the DMARC, and then you guys will pick it up from the DMARC and bring it on.
Well, unless it's, well, what depends on what you call the DMARC. So the firewall and the switches that allow all 5 buildings to talk to each other, that's also us. Now, if you call those Ethernet ports the DMARC, where with the handoff point, then the answer to that question is yes.
Yeah, so whatever your patch panel, when you bring
Yeah.
the fiber from you to them, you're gonna be responsible up to that point, and then you guys are gonna pick it up on the other side.
He's gonna bring fiber into a switch,
Mhm.
which is gonna light that switch up. Then we'll be responsible from that switch.
Right, to the inside.
To the inside. That's where we've gotta work with them to make sure because they're managed switches, so they gotta be turned on, there's certain
Yep.
programming. They're not like a dumb switch, you just plug it in and it works. So that's where we'll have to work close hand in hand, making sure what we need and everything that's there. That's why it's perfect for us to have it up and running, prior to.
It really is, it's a 3-step process, and it sounds like we're at one.
Right.
So,
And the second question I have on that, just a sub-question real quick. So if there's not a direct line or an access for you guys to come in and do troubleshooting, right? You have to come through their network. If you're troubleshooting remotely, and which I think that's optimum, so we can drop our
You can
downtime.
use the portal to troubleshoot or call our NOC and work hand in hand.
Okay.
So we'll have access to get in there and see and make program changes and see what's going on.
Accessibility to an extent, because there's some things like, we're in charge of making sure that all software, firmware updates and all that stuff has occurred. So we're not gonna give you ability to block us out of
We're
that.
not gonna give
But
you
outside of
100%
that,
access,
right,
but-
complete user ability access, 100%.
Okay, so if we have a VLAN issue from A to B, we'll be able to go in and.
Get in and
Okay,
make changes.
okay.
And then is that like per port? Because I'm going back to the old read, write, execute days. I mean, so we want to make sure that you guys can do more than just come in and look, like they can actually come in and.
They
make
can go
whatever
in and
changes.
see the status of every single Ethernet port in this building.
Yeah, that's my read. So on the write and execute aspect of it, will they be able to dial in and come in and actually do troubleshooting? If something needs to be corrected or reset
Remove
or
the
something
word
like that?
dial in with username, password, login,
Uh-huh.
then the answer is yes.
And that doesn't require approval or assistance from your
They
side?
have approval from day one, it's
Okay.
pre-written.
All right, that's what I was trying to avoid, was calling into a knock, maybe waiting 20,
Oh,
30 minutes to
right.
get access, and then they gotta have access, and they've gotta go do
No.
theirs, and then these guys can come in.
If there's a problem,
Mhm.
I always advise, if you have somebody nearby, log in, see if there's an alarm going.
Right.
If you're not nearby,
See who's not
call the
seeing it.
knock. We could have somebody hit a tree out here
Right.
and knock the line down. They'll say, don't bother. The equipment's fine, it's
Right.
just the fiber got
Yep,
cut,
yep,
that
yep.
sort of thing.
And then that's
So-
alarms, right? You should be able to see the alarms, who's not seeing
Yes.
who.
Yeah,
Red alarm
it's just
coming
if
in
they're not looking at the portal, they're not seeing it. Our guys have it
Yep.
24/7, 365.
Of course, if the fiber's down, we can't see anything anyway.
Right,
right,
right.
We'll be.
On the portal, it'll show up as an alarm saying no communication,
Right.
and that'll be it.
Is there any kind of failover?
At this point, no. I was gonna talk to you about that afterwards. It might not be the worst. Even a cellular, something simple,
Yeah.
some simple
I mean,
failover.
in my past experience, I've been doing this for 28 years. Once you get on fiber, it is rare that you have an issue.
Correct.
I mean,
When you do it ugly.
Yeah, when you do,
Yes.
it's all or nothing.
Right.
So, some kind of small failover would probably be nice to have.
And we would just identify what circuits were essential, crucial, and that they would fail,
And
or
you
everybody
can
else would drop
actually,
out.
and through our system, you can say, when you go to 1, 2, here's what has access,
Right.
the rest is not.
So we could have the bat phones that somewhere where somebody could actually call out, we could have a couple of circuits that
There
need
you
to be
go.
up all the time, okay.
Well, and that also frees us up to be able to immediately get in there
Correct.
and determine, is it a fiber outage?
Right.
or
Whose
is
side's it on?
Yep.
Correct.
And that's what, so I played middleman when I worked for the phone company. The hardest thing in the world was to sit here with equipment, and if I got you on the phone, you're telling me it's his fault. If I got you on the phone, you're telling me it's his fault.
Nothing
I mean,
worse.
oh my God, that's such a pain.
Nothing worse.
And it just increases it down.
No, it's hours of pointless finger pointing.
Yeah, that's where you get both of them once, let them argue. I'm like, you guys have at it.
Yeah,
Who's seeing whose alarm? Who's not seeing whose side? So we talked about a phase cutover. What are you guys looking at for a build complete? Minus the animal shelter.
Honestly, we were getting really close. We stuck a pin in it, waiting to have that TQ done. Now that we know that, that'll be the next step. I would say less than 2 weeks to get at least this building circuit lit, and the surrounding one shortly after, but we haven't even gotten we filed for the permits to cross 19. They haven't even acknowledged they've gotten
I got you.
the filing yet. So.
That's not, I don't think that's.
Of course, sometimes they acknowledge that we filed with the permit.
Right.
But that's really rare. A lot of the time they acknowledge we filed.
Whose poles do they run through the power?
Yeah, their power.
No, definitely. I mean, that's gonna be a huge nicety to get them tied in, especially with, direct line extension calling, but it's a nicety at this point.
It hasn't happened yet. I haven't told the right people yet, but it also might be a nice nod for the school and everybody over there too. Because we're pulling enough over there to
Gotcha.
continue up the road if said need. It's kind of convenient.
Building capacity.
Yeah,
There you go.
we're adding capacity in, and I haven't told my sled team yet, but once the permit's issued, and I know they're going across the street, I'll call my sled team and be like, we're gonna have fiber by the school.
Gotcha.
So
Absolutely. And might
they can
look
approach the board of ed at that point.
for our park as well.
The guy from Supreme Court's gonna come this afternoon, check out.
Okay.
What we're talking about.
I'll show you where.
Yeah, if you could show the location.
So the only concerns on your side are maybe some outlying equipment that, like we're talking about right there. That's the only thing you guys really see right now that would be of concern.
Mhm.
You said you could bring the phones in, we'd go ahead and switch over, start using the new phones, they could get comfortable with those things. And then on your all side, your, the TQ.
We have the TQ, and we have, if I'm not mistaken, we've already completed tangible connectivity. In other words, fiber on the back of every building.
So your physical.
We
stuff.
just need to egress and put switches in.
And when you talked about failover, so there's one ring and that's it.
We have one RAN, but like I said, it's all.
I mean, I'm sure it's a pair, and you know, you can switch over.
Right,
to
yeah,
pair,
and
you take a cut.
if a fiber is damaged, an individual strand is damaged, it can be swapped in a matter. We have 12. Just
Right.
to be honest, we have 11. It helps with snow load. It helps with other things, you know.
Right.
So we have 12. We have 12 strands. You're using one.
Gotcha.
You know, so we have 11 backup strands. But
Typically it
if
cuts all the way through.
if somebody decides to
Backhoe.
pull out of Lowe's with a 15-foot tall truck and yank down the fiber, those 12 strands don't do you any good. So we have to get that spliced real fast. But I agree. I think a real simple
Failover, and that would be.
cellular. I really feel like they'll let them worry about 1, 2. That way that's.
Yeah, that's the way I would go.
That's something that you guys would give us the
We-
access
we
to,
can
or
provide
the
that.
advice and
Yeah.
stuff to take care of? Okay.
We have a connection. It's just our AT&T connection.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be honest with you. I fight with them all the time. I almost don't like my customers relying on the guy that I have to call.
Right.
I don't have an issue with AT&T in general.
Right.
It's the guy that I'm supposed to call. I get no response from, so I would rather he trust somebody.
Okay. You guys were perfectly okay with that?
Yeah,
And that's
fine.
something we could, how long do you think that would design get into place, get us a price
Not
on
long.
Make a phone call.
it? Okay.
Yeah.
And how much, what are we looking at cost on something like that?
Which, I mean, if we,
Spitball.
what if we done Starlink?
Oh, we might do that.
Because once you get your Starlink set up and activated, you can actually go in and you can log in and turn it off.
Right.
Yeah, that's what we should.
And then log in and turn it right back
Like an
on.
as needed basis.
Got-
We have that for deputy cell phones.
I was gonna say, if you've got
For Will. Yeah.
physical square footage to put it, that's a good idea.
You know, it's taken me a while to get used. I'm old school. I'm
Thanks.
56,
Right.
you know what I mean? And it took me forever to get used to doing the cellular, and then we started playing some of this Starlink stuff, and it's pretty effective.
Especially if it's somewhere
Very
small cracks, too.
reliable.
Yeah,
Once a
the
year,
pipe
every
is
3 or 4
narrow, but the
years.
speed is amazing.
It's,
I mean, the only thing we have to do, I guess, is check and make sure that we get tested, make sure that our VoIP and stuff like that, which, I mean, at that point,
yeah, you just choke it down to
What you need.
critical.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. We could actually maybe come with all the department heads, figure out what's actually has to be on all the time, like what do we literally need? So we don't need a whole bunch of phones, maybe 2 or 3 phones to throw out the whole building, one in each of our
I
ancillary
mean, this is
facilities.
gonna be a catastrophic once in a blue
Correct.
moon situation. But,
And then the other point I had is when we get over to the law enforcement side of the network. So my thing is just, you know, when you divide things out there, is I want something totally separate, something that they maintain. They've got their guy that does all their stuff that nobody has access into, and, you know, they're running parallel. And that's probably more provisioning than it is physical, right?
That's already there.
But as we tie in now.
We're
that-
not, I was asked, where'd Aaron go? I was asked-
He had to get off.
All right, so here's how I designed this, after Patty and I went to every human being that works for the county. We walked this entire property, this entire county, this town multiple times. I visualize this, and I apologize, so if you correct me or stop me if I go somewhere you're not following. There's 3 pillars of responsibility and finance. It all comes from you guys. But the 911 center itself, 100% standalone on their own. They got their own phones. They came to us. They have their own network, and Global
Yeah.
handles that. That has nothing to do with this project.
Correct.
If you see a piece of that equipment, we just pretend it's not there. You know, the blind. Okay.
And none of that stuff will be touched. in
None of that
this.
stuff has
That
any,
would be on
the
assumption.
only place that they have a commonality is Ashburn, when everything gets to the internet, you know what I mean? So, it's running parallel, but they don't touch.
The little pipes are coming.
Yeah, they all come together and they all run, but they don't touch.
Okay.
The other one is, the fiber that we have in the other section is the sheriff's department.
Right.
Now, the sheriff's department is a little different. Network-wise, they are completely autonomous. I was told, you know, when Aaron and I were speaking and all that, has a lot to do with prisoner records and things like that.
Absolutely.
They need to 100% be on an island network.
Yes.
Now, that network has a direct point-to-point tie to their other equipment at the old post office.
Building to building.
But those 2 things, it is a point-to-point internet. Okay, there is no commonality, again,
Good.
just like the 911 center. Its own thing, runs parallel to, but never connects to.
Is that your-
The different thing about the sheriff's
Is that how
department,
you guys understand it as well?
honestly, I had no clue
Okay.
how any of that was done.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're not taking
The
any of this
difference
into the
is,
project.
when it comes to sheriff's department, is the phones in this building have always and shall continue to go through y'all's account. Because so the desk phones and the fax machine are in this project.
Correct.
But when it comes to the sheriff's department, those are the only things that are in this project.
What about the phones down there? Good.
If I'm not mistaken, Aaron has them
Okay.
being like forwarded or transferable down to there.
Okay.
But they are completely,
Okay, so are they gonna have our new phones?
that is a really, really, really good question. I wish Aaron had been able to stay
I mean,
and
it's-
try them again.
My understanding is, yes,
I thought so,
envisioned
but
it
I started questioning that.
for them down there.
Yes.
Because when you do that, you're opening up their network.
Well, I guess at this point, so are we still, is Shentel still bringing in a fiber circuit down there and a switch?
Fiber
In the
circuit
sheriff's
has switched out because they were not allowed to use they had to use something else.
Okay, so basically at that point, what we would have to do is put something in, put a switch in just for us,
For the phones.
just for the phone.
So basically, are we gonna separate and give them a separate piece of fiber and just have two separate networks there? They have their
They will-
network, and
we'll
then
have
we'll
a-
have a network with phones?
We'll have a phone-only network, and then they'll keep what they have right now.
Okay, so with that being
tracks.
said, you all have 12 strands, would we be able to
We'd actually just do
use
it on
a set of
we
those
just do it on a
strands?
separate wave. I could open up a separate UNI port on the T-Mark.
Okay, gotcha.
But
Basically, you're
to
talking
be
about
honest,
point to
Aaron
point.
would probably rather, so that he can see it, he might wanna open up a port on the firewall down there to.
Okay.
you
So-
guys put
So
the
we're
switch on.
still, basically, it's gonna be two separate networks.
Two completely separate networks. They run parallel, but do not, they
That way,
run
we don't have to worry about any kind of infringement and any.
spot on.
And that's what with the phone being a separate network, then Aaron would not have a need to go in there and look at that. I'm trying to
Not the
cut his
phone.
work down.
Not the
yes.
phone.
Trying to cut his work down, not isolate him away from something.
He would essentially one time allow access to,
Uh-huh.
and then that's the end of it. He wouldn't have to worry about it again.
Access to you.
Access to them.
Access to you.
Yep, so that they can get there. But that's also only if these phones, because what are you guys doing down there with phones right now?
They're landlines.
Yeah, there's
Standard.
They're coming from the,
Frontier.
yeah, they're coming from the 911 center.
So if you set it down on a different wavelength, existing path, different wavelength, they're gonna pick it up on their side on their equipment, right?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it still has to go through the firewall. So it would go, I could do a separate wavelength, open up another UNI port, or Aaron could just open up, basically, say he's got
Oh, okay,
say he's got a 24 port switch, he could just open a switch and go, this belongs to King.
What do you guys
Basically,
prefer?
he's just on.
Okay, so basically what they're doing
Anyway.
is, he's still using the same fiber, the same internet connection and everything.
He's just channelizing
Going
you
to
over
the
to your
existing
port.
switch that's there, and we're just
Yeah.
doing, because I was confused for a
What,
minute, so.
what do you guys prefer as far as troubleshooting? Because he gave two options.
No, that's fine,
Okay.
because basically, as long as Aaron can log in and look and see that we've got connectivity on that certain wavelength, we'll know it's not coming from here.
Yeah, do it VLAN.
And then we'll just, then he would just do a VLAN, and basically, that would give him the way to keep us completely separate
Mhm.
from them, and then he still has all the access
It sounds to
and
me like
everything that he needs.
if they're not providing a switch,
We
for
will.
PoE switch,
We will.
we're gonna need to provide a PoE.
Yeah.
And I absolutely can, so that it all matches. Or you could throw one on that your phone's like, you know what I mean? It's your call. You're paying somebody for it, you know what I mean?
And then,
That's entirely up to these
Yeah.
gentlemen.
I know we had some side conversations about access and password and stuff, so my thing was to make sure that your network is completely isolated off. Those guys aren't in it.
They won't
those
need
guys are
passwords at all
providing
for
it.
that.
Yeah, nothing is, your representative, Aaron's the only one getting into your stuff and doing anything.
Right.
Yep.
Troubleshooting, access, allowing access, he has permission to do all that stuff. Does that address the concerns you had on that?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's the thing, we wanted to make sure that everybody was on the same point.
Yeah.
Your standalone network goes down through there and nobody has access to it that you don't allow, or that Aaron doesn't
Right.
allow.
The only thing that we have to keep in mind, and is the phones, they have, you know, a portal in the back that you can plug your computer into. We
just don't.
won't have that capability. You're gonna have two separate networks, so just keep that in mind if you're looking to add a computer or something like that, and you say, well, we've got the portal in the back of the phone, we can't do that.
Yeah, because here, if you wanted to add something in, you can literally just daisy chain, right? You bring it into the phone, daisy chain off the phone, come right over to the new computer, the additional printer, or anything.
But you'll
you
be able
want
to
add
do
or
it all
something.
over here.
Right, just not down there. And I think that's definitely a compromise. It's,
Tiny.
yeah, very good to go. I mean, keep everything.
It's a brand new building. From what I gathered, there's only about 11,000 Ethernet ports in that building now. So.
Right.
I think I was kind of blown
Plenty of
away.
capacity, right?
Oh, yeah, they're definitely ready, definitely future proof.
Right.
I liked it.
Lots of growth. Such growth. So back to Jeff. What are you guys looking at as a build out complete when we could even look at remotely start trying to schedule a cutover? 30 days, 60 days?
I would say less than 30.
Okay.
Let's call it 30, and then see if I can't get it in fashion.
And that's just, like I said, to throw it.
Yeah, no.
So
It's
these
not.
guys
It's
know
not
about
safe.
what
It's
they're
not.
looking at.
Now that we've had this conversation, I mean, we had a very small hurdle. The problem was it was technically an impasse until even though it was so tiny and it looks minute and unnecessary, but we're good now. So they'll get scheduled for their portal training. They'll get scheduled for their for the TQ, and then we're good.
This, I'm assuming that this all gets put in the form that this conversation and all of, is that what she's writing?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
I was
She's
just wondering,
a student that's observing.
I would like some way, and I don't know, we could provide it, somebody can provide it, but who's responsible for what? You know what I mean?
We have
And
it
have
captured, so we've got it on TV, we've got it on our cameras
Okay.
here. We've got a audio recording that we'll put into the minutes. And we can, I can work with the clerk, we can surmise that to make sure it's
Yeah,
captured.
and it's just to simplify things, so everybody's aware, this is what's not working, this is who's responsible to fix it.
Will there be an SLA?
There is no SLA.
Okay, but that'll be captured in there as well?
Mostly. There's some things that we also, because this is a managed service situation, there are a couple other things that we will take responsibility for that aren't in a standard SLA, but yes.
Okay,
There's
so
a-
you could basically, from your
Yeah.
side, say this is your responsibility. And anything that's designed.
Well, I guess
We've already
it's easier to
determined our
say.
responsibility
Right.
is from the switch
The demarc end.
out.
Yeah,
The switch out per facility.
right.
You see what I'm saying?
We
So-
are switch prior.
I'll call it switch in.
Okay.
From the switch end of the building.
Correct.
Into the phones, into the
Yes, sir.
computers,
Yeah, it's all
that's
for
correct.
Okay. Yeah.
It's all for-
And I'm confident that we won't have any issues there because we certify everything
Right.
to where there is no surprises.
And then the actual, and I know I'm splitting hairs here, but the actual literal fiber jumper that comes in, that's on y'all.
The fiber jump, well, he'll plug
Yeah.
into a switch.
Right.
The patch cord from the switch
out.
to the device
That's on you.
is us.
Okay, yep.
So anything from that switch out
Mhm.
or switch in,
Yep.
if you
Switch in.
prefer,
Into the building.
would be us.
Okay.
Patch panel to T-Mark,
Mhm.
which is a brand, not a D-Mark, a
Right,
T-Mark, which
T-Mark,
is the
right.
brand of equipment, to our router, to our switch, us.
Okay.
And leaves on fiber to go to their stuff, that's where it converts to
Yep.
them.
All right. So we've got the cutover kind of laid out there. We've got a kind of a timeline.
Did we end up with any switches on any other floors, or were we able to just use all one rack?
That is a brand new question.
Okay, because if we have a switch on the top floor, because there was a possibility we were gonna
I
have,
felt like there was gonna be more than one location, but I may be thinking about the other building.
maybe, there was a possibility of, because of not being able to get 60 cables up to the top floor, that they
You might
might
have an
run
idea.
a fiber up to that, and then we have a switch up there. If they did that, then that fiber connect between the two is them.
Yes.
But the health of the switch upstairs, if the switch were to fry, if the switch were to stop communicating, that's us.
We have equipment on multiple floors, switches.
Yes.
So again, the switch upstairs is on us, just the connect to the basement.
You guys good with that?
Okay. Yeah. Isn't they certified at all? I've heard good stuff.
Well, just so we're getting that agreement.
Yeah, I know.
Everybody knows who's responsible for what.
Boys
How
don't
many-
call
how
them
many
out and
ideas
say
did
good
you get
things,
here?
so.
Here? Yep. 3, I think. So we got 3 different
Okay.
locations. 3 different racks. Yep.
That just saves from cable, home running everything out of the basement, right?
When you get into footage too, if you
Yes,
get too
yes,
far, you know
yes.
what I mean? So,
Brandon, I have 4. Basement, down here,
Oh, no, no,
and then one at the jail.
oh, yeah, there is 4. Yeah, I think there's 4.
Something just popped in my head, and it can be completely tabled till later, rather, but, any progress on deciding which building? Is it gonna be the old bank building? Have you got anywhere at all on where you're moving? Okay.
Also, as far as, yeah.
Because I did, like I said, I stuck a pin in this one.
Yes.
This one just isn't happening at all, probably at all, but you have in this whole thing, you had another
Right.
local building.
That we could use.
That we
And
could,
we definitely want that.
get on network.
So the last thing that I actually had here, the list of numbers that went out. We are still working to identify the last few that are not in use. And if we swing everything over, then we could decom those numbers through you all.
Right.
Okay.
But the biggest thing for me is, because I went through this, and this is the most important information that you can have, so that in the end you can make the final decision. What numbers are being ported, and what numbers must, because this tells you the ones that like you're not using, or that you are, and vice versa, you are using. But truth of the matter, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say, were you guys planning on using 7830 as the primary line to go to the, what do you guys call it? I call it the welcome message, but.
Call tree.
Yeah. You have I'm assuming there's an out, the first outgo, thank you for calling the courthouse.
Hey, what's your inbound main line?
Yeah.
What are you guys looking at for there? The 7830, which would be your commission line?
That's where
up
you
to
guys
you
tell
guys.
us.
That's what I figured.
Yeah.
So basically, we need to know if the sheriff's department has a published number, or published fax number.
yeah, any
We
direct
need to know
lines.
anything that's basically published, and it doesn't matter what he uses to call out on.
Right.
Or what he uses to call out.
Right.
All we care about really is the income, because at that point, our DIDs can handle the rest of it to where.
Right.
As long as he doesn't, he has a direct number that he gets calls from the state or whomever, and it doesn't have to be public, it can just be a number that he's constantly using. If they have a particular number that the people from the state only use, then we need to know that.
Yes.
Then we need to know if.
Because we'll need that for the LOA as well, because when we talked earlier, I think it's 118 total DIDs. Let's just make this easy. Let's say we find out you have 18 published or necessary numbers. I need to know what numbers those are, so I can do an LOA to port them from Frontier. And then the rest of them will assign 100 native DIDs.
That's the question I had, like what was gonna be ported, what was gonna be native.
And this
So the only thing
is
it
the
has to
first
be-
of 2 steps to determine that.
The ported is just gonna be the directly published lines.
Yes.
Anything that's internal or any of the little ancillary extensions are all
Yep.
gonna be native.
And what I picture is a handful, probably the commission number, if maybe there's one for tax officer, whatever those are, the fax lines. Because you're pulling off the PRI and doing ATH, right?
Correct.
Okay. So at that point, it's just those numbers and the fax lines and everything. Everything else can be a native that they assign as an extension.
And I don't wanna speak, I mean, we have what, 1, 2, 3 department heads here, three. I think this would be a good opportunity to retrain folks, I really do. I mean, if we take that main line that folks call out and pull those in, identify new main numbers that come in, and like you said, those don't have to be published. But how do we get that updated, like, in the 401 world? How does
Well,
that take
right
place?
now, if you look up the courthouse,
Uh-huh.
it's 7830.
Right, but I'm saying like.
So they call her all day.
Let's say that we use that, but let's say, it says 7850 for the county clerk's office. How do we, and we wanna change that, how do we get that out there, or make sure that they're not calling that? You see what I'm saying?
Well,
So we have people that have numbers memorized, and they're trying to
we-
bypass.
We white page listed.
Right, so that's, you guys.
We white page
Okay.
listed. We don't take it any further than that, but we white page listed.
Because I know we have some folks that have memorized numbers, and they use that, they're gonna use that to skirt our system. Or you have that direct dial in, or we
Sure,
start
and
getting
if
the
they just,
complaints.
if they've
that
been
folks-
calling some random weird number that allows Tammy Sue to answer back there, well, then that just won't, that guy's gonna be disappointed, which
Okay.
isn't a bad.
Which is what I want.
Rip the cord, cut the cord and hand them a new one, and the new
Right.
one's a whole lot more simple.
Right.
The other thing that you'll notice on these DIDs, or when you're outbound calling, you can tell me what to use. So if I wanna outpost the main number for every single call that goes out,
Which that we probably wouldn't, right? Or wouldn't.
that's entire, I mean, that's.
I'm thinking backwards on that.
A lot of people, so let's say you've got a direct line. I can make this direct line show up when he calls out, that this is my dedicated number. You might have some areas that it's better for them to have that number, but then you're gonna have some areas that it's better not. So that's at the end of the day, we're gonna wanna say, Garrett's got a private line. When he calls, does he want people calling him back on that private line? Or he wants them to hit the main line?
Especially like these folks over here, you know, if they call out from their private line, they wanna come back through the main line, because you don't wanna call
Correct.
out your own desk.
Correct, so that's some flexibility that you normally don't have with a DID, or that you don't have with a copper line.
Exactly.
You can skirt all those calls to where nobody sees.
And I would think we'd want it to all go out on the main line then when you said that way. I thought you were talking about the actual physical call going out. You're talking about what number?
No, I'm talking about the numbers
Yes.
outpost.
Outbound
Yeah,
call.
whatever
ID.
that main line in is what I want to go out. You guess what he's saying?
And that's,
So you're not, like, if you call out from there, it's gonna go to the main line. They
But if
can't
you
call you back
choose
and where
to
you
tell
at
your
on that.
wife, hey, my direct number is such and such,
She can call on that one.
she can call it, but if you call her from here, it's just gonna show up the main number.
So it's just gonna show up 7830.
Yep.
so that's pretty
So
much,
that you're on the switchboard.
do you want the assessor's office to go through this? Do you want
I
the
don't think
deputy
anybody would fuss with
sheriff's
us on
office?
that.
Do you want
Are
the
you okay
tax
with that?
department?
That when you call out, it shows 7830, no matter what you're calling out from.
So.
Are we gonna do an auto attendant that says, hello, if you'd like a directory of the courthouse facilities, is that how they're gonna know?
I
Are
would
you
say
gonna
that's
try to
perfect.
field calls that way?
Yes, and
So-
the goal was not to say if you, to reach the county clerk, press 1. For election matters, estates, yada, 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 press 1. Because I didn't know the difference between a circuit clerk, county clerk before I came here, to make it very user-friendly and lay for
Right,
the
and then we're
folks
gonna
outside.
separate it out in the second prompt. Is that basically what you're saying?
Would you want to go sub, or just all your lines ring when somebody calls? Like, if they're calling for estates, do you want that to go to a specific phone, or do you want that to just hit all the lines inside your department?
Well, I think what
Is that what
he's,
you're
what
saying?
he's asking is, if you decide, okay, we're picking for county tax questions, blah, 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 do you want it to go to another prompt that says, if this is for county taxes, if this is for election, if this is for.
Just we're using it and frustrating.
We're gonna do, we're gonna
Yeah,
do
you don't wanna make it
KISS
too big of a
method.
tree.
Yes, because I think it'll frustrate people, and they'll just start hitting 0 or whatever.
Right, so if you want the assessor's
That's what I
office,
would do.
press 1, and it's gonna ring everybody in the assessor's
All right.
office.
Yes.
Patty, now, here, Tom, this year's your turn to speak up and defend yourself. If they do just start hitting 0, who do you want it to call?
Some line downstairs and just fucking rings.
Well, we can,
70-10, that's what
we
I said
can
everybody.
make it disconnect. I
Yes.
mean,
Yeah, if they start wearing out that 0 or whatever the case is, then it disconnects and call back again. Or some line that just rings.
So we know 7830. And now I just need a list of all the fax numbers, which I bet he's in there. And now the question is, I guess, because we're not worried about the 911 center, they're not here, they're not in this building. So the next question is Sheriff's Department, are there any direct dials that you guys want to have, for anybody, anywhere, to be able to just pick up and direct dial y'all? And feel free to think about it for a day or two, because I got another day and a half driving before I'm gonna fill out this form.
I think you guys would want, like, especially your internal employees or maybe your employees' spouses or family, to be able to call straight in and not have to go through a tree. I mean, that way, if, you know, Shannon or somebody wanted to give a direct number out, they could call directly in.
Yeah, they're less than 50 cents a month
Right.
per
Right.
number, so it's,
Even if it's just
pretty
one
cost
number
effective.
that they
It's
can call
not,
and
it's not
ring
the end of the
in.
world.
But if not, they're gonna have to go through this tree.
So one question I do have, I know you just mentioned 911's on the side, but like, everybody knows 304-872-4911.
Right,
We'll keep that number.
but that's ringing over there now.
Right.
Right, so that's
So it's-
not project affiliated.
Okay,
It's
very good.
It's still gonna ring over there, just like that, yeah.
So if you all wanted a similar number like that.
And then, we had that conversation last night. Are those shipped on the fly when you have those direct lines in? Like if it was 7831 and for some reason we had an employee separate and maybe, you know, there's some controversy come up and we wanted to make that 7832. So they can't, you know what I mean, they can't keep wearing it. Are those shipped on the fly?
Ish.
Provisioning, right?
Well, ish.
we could just dead it out.
select the
They could,
number.
basically it would, if you said, hey, we don't want anybody being able to call this number anymore, we just take the incoming call route out, and when they call it, it's gonna go beep, beep, beep,
Okay.
beep, beep, and then.
And then add another one in?
And we could, that would be where we.
Yeah,
have to
or,
be
yeah,
ready
is
to
that we
call.
can, in situations like that, we can swap a DID anytime.
And we did have a message board. We had.
I love it.
When we went with our Centrex system, we had.
I think it's a good opportunity to, because I want it to be more user-friendly to the customers, you know, to the
Really
citizens.
big.
That way they know, so, you know, they're not
Okay.
guessing, they're just hitting one. And I think we have a good opportunity to train the citizens of the county on how to be more effective with our phone system.
Yeah, we'll start with the message that everybody uses.
Right.
Please listen carefully, our options have changed.
Right.
To better serve the community of Nicholas County, blah, blah, blah.
So we have descriptors, because I would, like I said, as a county clerk or circuit clerk, I don't know, I'm calling about a hearing, you know, and then I just start hitting buttons.
But of course, there's still gonna be internal transferability, so if you call the circuit that's supposed to be district, then they just transfer over to the district court, which, you know, solves that.
And then hopefully, and then I'm really splitting hairs at this point, just out of curiosity. So when we do internal transfers or internal calling, can we just make it where it's 4-digit calling?
Yes.
No 9s, no 1s, no 9-1, no, if we're going from one desk to another?
No, you'll just dial the extension. Of course, now you will have to dial 9 when you call out.
Yes. Yeah,
No, for internal, it'll just be 4
Good.
digits.
Okay.
We could redo these maybe, the extension number.
Yeah,
Instead
I'd
of the
say,
phone number.
I say ignore these and redo them.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, as an example, right.
Yes.
Yeah, we no longer have.
Right.
They're pilot.
But yeah, we could say county commission extension 1, blah, blah, blah. And that way, as soon as it starts talking, they can just.
Probation extension.
Yep.
I don't answer.
Hope is no
Ring,
longer
ring.
hope.
We can talk to BJ all day.
Voicemail, each individual will be able to set their own voicemail.
Correct.
Like we could have a voicemail for the commission, you know.
Correct. We can do, you've got Hunt Group voicemails, which is a voicemail applied to, let's say there's 4 phones in here. That could be a Hunt Group voicemail, and then you can have your own individual voicemails. And I can have it set to where it'll light every phone. So if there's a voicemail left for commission, for example, the first person that retrieves it, the light goes out on every phone. So you're not doing anything redundant.
Absolutely. And then they could have that forwarded to a cell phone, to a, another phone, like if,
You can
Dave
do,
steps out
you
for
can
a couple
do,
hours, he can forward to his cell phone.
you can do what's called twinning. We program the twinning in there, we can give you a twinning key if you use it frequently. You just push that key, it turns green, you're off doing your thing, and it'll go to your cell phone. You can have it set up on a timer if you wanna leave twinning on all the time. It's just pretty much unlimited. I mean, I can do it based on a time profile to where if you want twinning to work from 8 to 5, but you don't want anything after 5.
That way you
want
don't
your
forget to shut it
voicemail.
off, go to the house, have to come back, turn it back off.
Correct.
Gotcha.
So I can do time profiles,
I got
it's
you.
pretty elaborate, I can do.
Is it like
pretty
a
much
questionnaire, or we'll work with you individually as we go through, or?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just have to, I'm the one that'll be keying everything
Right.
in, so we'll just have to get an idea of anybody that's gonna want
Each
20.
department give you whatever.
And then it also has voicemail to email, so
Yes, that's the other thing.
we may wanna look at that, and so somebody's gonna have to say, okay, I want it, I don't. So at some point, you're right, we need some kind of form that we're gonna go through and say, Judy's extension 2110, voicemail check, twinning check, if it's a twinning number, what's the
hours.
number, you know what I mean?
I got you.
So with this many phones, we'll have to have some kind of a form that we're all gonna pull our hair out.
Yes.
Now with the twinning, you got like a 7-day schedule, let's say, that you can program.
Yes.
In some offices, not very often, there might be Monday and Tuesday needs to be Craig, Wednesday, Thursday needs to be me, the rest of the week I'm gonna throw on Gary. Can you twin it, schedule multiple numbers or just one?
I have to think on that.
Okay.
I have to, honestly.
Because that might
Good
be
question.
something for
I know
your department,
incoming-
maybe probation, maybe magistrates.
Yeah, I feel like the answer is probably yes. It's just something I've not had to do.
Sure, right.
You know what I
It's
mean?
kind of a unique situation.
Yeah, correct.
Or if everybody has a line, maybe you don't have to worry about that. If each officer, each probation.
I'm coming up
I
with
know
one
from,
action item.
yeah, I know for a fact from inbound call route, I can change the where it's going based on the date, time, day of the week.
Yeah.
But it's the number that they're calling in on. So that's where I'd have to figure out if I can do it based on just an extension.
Sure. Okay.
I'm down to just, like I said, essentially just the one action item, because it will be we'll come to a stalemate, you know what I mean? We'll just, if we don't figure out, pick out a number if you guys, the sheriff's department to friends, family, whatever, so they can just call in. Because what I'm really hearing is the best thing we can possibly do for the future, not to make it comfortable for the next 2 weeks, for the future is port 7830, port all the fax lines, port a number for y'all, and everything else runs through the, everything else runs through the call manager.
Yeah, you're gonna hear a little bit of fussing originally.
Right, probably a whole lot for a week, and then it'll quiet, and then it'll quiet a little bit more,
Well,
and
the
then it'll
good thing
quiet a little
about-
bit more, and then people start going, I don't like that.
The good thing about native numbers is you don't have somebody working, porting out the wrong numbers and actually disconnecting their service. You gotta call in and open it back up. Anytime you got more fingers in the pot, there's an opportunity for
Well,
errors.
One of the things about doing it this simply is if everybody's got room, everybody can leave their current phone on their desk, get the new phone, port these numbers, set that up, the new phones start working, they're happy, then they can toss the other, they can disconnect and toss the other phones.
Well, that'll give them a chance to set up their voicemail.
Right.
You know, kind of play with it.
Goes over to Chantel. Well, what if they're in there, doing some database work and they actually port that number somewhere else? So the less
We had
ported
that
numbers we have, the better
last
off
year.
it is, yes.
Yeah, so the big thing's
So they
gonna
handle
be,
those numbers.
do that, and
Minimum.
then when it's done, you just cancel
Yes.
all the numbers, which, upside, downside, okay? The upside is gonna be how much more smooth that process is gonna feel, how little lost things are gonna occur.
Right.
Downside is, remember all that money we were saving? You're gonna spend you're gonna spend more the first month, then you'll start saving.
That was my question.
Because you're gonna have two things
Yes.
active. So your first month, you're gonna be spending more.
Do we wanna go 30 days from cut date?
That's completely up to y'all. I can go 30 days, go 5 days, I don't care, you know?
I feel like 2 weeks would be more than adequate for
And then
us
once
to
we-
find any.
Once we put in the disconnect orders, how long is that gonna take?
Go 30, okay.
Well, now,
days.
as
Not the ones
you
that'll be okay.
guys are going around the building, because here's the other thing, and I hate to rely on you guys even more, but you guys are gonna be the ones to see it. Have you found some random cable modems throughout the building when you were getting this stuff together, that you were surprised? I know there's at least one across the street.
I know where there's a bunch.
So the reasoning is we knew how much they were gonna save over Frontier. But we have some departments here that went out on their own and got cable modems, and it's just, so as this is going, when we discover cable modems, and they're not gonna need them anymore, we can disconnect and save that money too. So as it goes, it'll be surprise savings. But, you know, I just really feel like that side of it's good, but the first 2 weeks, it's like I said, and you're just gonna disconnect from Frontier, and that's, in theory, it should be a 10-day thing. But it also, capability, they could just shut it off.
Well, the beauty of it is we can, we don't have to give them a formal cutoff date.
Right, no, that's just.
You
for
know what I
me,
mean?
when
We can
look at
say,
those-
when we feel comfortable, we call them and say, okay, we're done.
Our project's over.
Well, like Jeff said, for a month or whatever the case is, we're gonna pay 2 bills.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we wanted to minimize that, but we
Sure,
also wanted to
absolutely.
cut our nose off, spite our face, and cut in 2 places.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because you could, $1,000 is a lot of money.
Yes.
But it can also, trying to save that $1,000 can, you're gonna cause a headache that
Bite us in the
$1,000 worth of
backside, right.
Tylenol ain't gonna
Yep,
fix.
yep, yep.
So-
That's one of the, what is it, choke on the gnat and eat the elephant?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely.
This is what, well, and speaking of elephant, this is just how do you eat an elephant, one bite at a time, that's
Yep.
just how you.
And I think that's what we would look at, once everything's completed, then we would set our 14-day timer from that point, and then, we'd just let, Patty or Mary know to go ahead and call in with those disconnects.
Yep.
And then we'll have nothing directly coming in from, what did we decide to do with the elevator alarms?
I'm gonna have some B1s coming off.
Okay.
Because you guys have UPSs, right? But,
I gotta assume.
yeah, okay.
I know-
thought so.
I know,
saw
like, the
some,
fire
I was just making
alarm
sure they
and-
were,
That's the other one, fire alarm,
Fire alarm,
elevator
elevator,
alarms.
and-
that's it.
We had 2 elevator alarms,
We wanna leave
2 or
those.
3 fire alarms, but that's still
So,
gonna
so,
come through.
so
That's
it's,
what comes directly from them.
it's fine, yeah, they'll do the cross connect,
Uh-huh.
but we're bringing them to the teamwork.
They're gonna be a true copper B1.
Yep, that's
Yeah,
what I figured.
yeah, it's coming off of a punch down too.
Uh-huh.
It'll be elevator, fire, Is there an elevator down in the
Over here.
DRC? No, it's over here.
Yep.
Elevator, fire, fire, fire.
Gotcha.
And then fire.
So what would be, so it's like 7 or 8 numbers, I think.
I think it's 8.
Eight
I think
deals.
I'd have to go back through and count, but I think it's 8.
Okay.
What about the duress alarms? Will they ring in 911
That, Aaron's working on the patch for something going on that's blocking it.
Yeah, we've got little buttons we can
But
push
it's
that'll
all-
actually ring a
it
911
doesn't
in
run
case
through
we
line,
need
it's
law
all
enforcement
network.
in the
Yeah, that's
office.
all.
No, that should change.
Good question.
Is that IP? Is it an IP? Or is it a
More
call?
of a cloud-based.
Oh, okay.
So we just need to make sure that what's triggered it out dials to.
But I got their
Then
TV
911.
set up down there, that it, once the alert, it'll go 911, mine, BJ's, the jail. And where's another one I can, it'll kick off on all those.
And is there anything, and this honestly is my last question, is there anything that we're add equipment capacity on in our building? Do we have a little room for growth in case something comes in, some new cool guy thing? I know you guys would be easy, to just be a provisioning aspect, right? But as far as
Yeah, we have-
boards,
we're
anything
putting
in
things
equipment,
in-
nothing's at max, right? Okay.
That
I
was
was
my
gonna say,
question gonna be
coming from
about,
us, you're at
like, you
20%
only have so many calls in and out.
We're provisioning
Is
for
all
that.
this gonna max that out? That was gonna be my question.
No, that's what they're able to monitor and make sure that we don't hit our, we don't start blocking on outbound calls. If they do, then we can actually get another.
Buy them in packs of 23.
Yep,
So we're only limited on outbound,
Outbound.
not inbound?
outbound, right?
Well, you're limited to total.
Total,
But in my-
Total active
call
calls.
packs.
Right.
In my past experience, the thing is, you're using, a PRI is an immediate disconnect.
Yes.
Your transfers
Yeah.
are so quick. 23 channels will amaze you, the volume of calls that you can take in and out and never hit your max.
Yeah.
But we can monitor that, and I can tell you every time that it would ever hit that, if it does. And I'm betting dollar to donuts that you're never gonna hit
In
that.
worst case, we're built out in a way where we just get another.
No, that would be about a 2-week
The only thing it's gonna do
delay.
is.
Might be able to do it. Might be able- maybe a week.
Okay. So once they start identifying or blocking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but if it happens for 10 seconds, you don't worry about it.
Right.
If it happens
Yeah.
for 10 seconds every hour,
Right.
you start thinking about
Right.
it.
Well, and like if there's some kind of an emergency, you've got flooding or, I mean, I can see times where it's possible, but on a day-to-day, regular occurrence.
Like, it's really kind of funny, he's not wrong about the amount of volume a PRI can do. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Weyerhaeuser, the cardboard company. Their facility up here has over 200 employees, and they got one PRI.
Right.
I don't think they've ever passed 14. And it's
I mean,
not-
it's just, it disconnects so quick.
Right,
and
But they have a sales facility
it's just-
in Virginia off 64, and there's only 60 people in that, and they have 3 PRIs.
Oh.
Because they can't get
Right.
inside of,
Right.
and what do you do? How do you use it, you know what I mean?
The
Like,
PRI is the 23 unit.
yeah,
You got 23 channels and your 4th channel's a D channel, and that's what makes it so efficient.
Yep.
That disconnect.
23 B and D.
It's just quick.
Any questions?
As long as we're good on figuring out the port situation real fast.
Everybody's smiling, no fists thrown, so we're in shape.
It's a good meeting, ain't it?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Nobody's scowling.
Nobody's walking away mad.
Right. All right.
Okay, we don't have any votes on that, so do we have any commissioner comments?
I've got one. I've got 2. Thank God for Gary Roberts on phones, and I really hope that Clerk Painter has taken studious and diligent comments and notes of this entire conversation. That's all I have. Happy Easter, Nicholas County.
Yep.
Folks, I'm gonna preach the same thing I've been preaching for a couple of weeks. Make sure if you're hearing something that you go back and research your own, come to your own conclusion through primary research. Always say that a rumor or a Facebook post is a starting point, it shouldn't be an end point. So, go do your primary research, make sure that any issues or anything that you're addressing, because you can do a lot of harm to somebody really quick, just based on perpetuating rumors that are floating around. So, research your own stuff. Happy Easter, and that's all I got.
Okay, happy Easter and keep our county unified.
Absolutely. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn? Motion on the floor, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Phil. ladies and
Thank you,
gentlemen.
gentlemen.